we're starting with chapter 10, or we're continuing with chapter 10 in text 150. Yesterday we read about all of these devotees coming to live close to Caitanya. Who remembers any of the names of these devotees?
Haridas, the elder, and Haridas, the younger.
Yes, Chota Haridas and Bada Haridas. And these are different from Haridas Thakur. So there are like at least 3 Haridases there. And it said they were musicians. Oh, you just looked at the verse, the previous verse. Is that?
No, I just remembered.
Oh, okay, so it is the previous verse. And they stayed with somebody else that appeared yesterday.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya?
No, Sarvabhauma had already been living there in Puri. But yeah, he was there.
Paramananda Puri.
Paramananda Puri. Oh yeah, yeah, he arrived, and they had met in that mysterious place where Paramananda Puri had spent the Chaturmasya, and Lord Chaitanya found him there. I'm moving around because I'm sitting on an exercise ball. It's supposed to be good for my back. Better than sitting on an office chair. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's a small one. I need a bigger one.
Oh yeah.
Sitting in a chair, I don't know, doesn't seem good. So trying to stay active. I'd say Muchu doing this too sometimes. I don't know what he was doing. Let's see. Govinda and Sarup Damodar also appeared. Anyone remember anything about them?
So Sarup Damodar was a poet and a musician, right? And he was described as an expansion of Chaitanya. And he would preview any literature that was brought for Chaitanya to make sure it was okay before he would share it with him.
Good. Anything more about Sir Damodar? Suprita?
No. Flower claps for Matthew for remembering everything.
Oh, okay.
And Chaitanya gave him that nickname of Damodar.
Yeah. And what was the reason? I remember a reason was given, but I don't remember what it was.
Because he's such a good poet, I guess. Although I don't remember what Damodar means.
Damodar is a name for Krishna, and
right.
Dhamma means your stomach, and Dhamma means to bind, and Udara means your stomach. So Krishna.
Oh, because he was bound to the mortar.
Yep. So I don't know what that has to do with music, but he was a musician and also really well schooled in scripture. And he was compared to Brihaspati, the priest of the demigods. And they were friends in Navadvip. And when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, Sarup Damodar, who had another name before that name was given, he said he just went mad and ran off to take sannyas himself. He went off to maybe Varanasi. How do you say that? Varanasi? Okay. And then, let's see, so he became like the secretary. I think that's the word Prabhupada uses for him. And Govinda became his servant. Does anyone remember anything about Govinda, where he came from?
I remember the story you told us that he massages Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's legs, and he's afraid to cross over him for his own sense pleasure, like because he was starving and he hadn't eaten.
Mm-hmm. He didn't say he was starving, but he hadn't eaten that day. So he was probably hungry, but he crossed over the Lord to massage his legs when Lord Chaitanya was too tired to move away from the doorway. And Lord Chaitanya just said, do whatever you want. I'm not moving. I'm tired. So Govinda put a cloth over him, stepped over him, massaged his legs, and I think it said that all of his fatigue, he massaged all of the fatigue out of the Lord's legs. And um, then he just sat there. And when Lord Chaitanya woke up from his nap, he said, what are you doing here? Well, I had to massage your legs. And okay, well, why didn't you go and eat your lunch? And Govinda he didn't say anything, but within his mind, he thought, I will go to hell to do your service. Okay, good. That's a good character reference. Um, does anyone remember where he came from, though? How he appeared there?
He is a disciple of Ishwar Puri, so I guess he's a god brother of Chaitanya, because yeah. And so when Ishwar Puri died, he sent Govinda to be the servant of Chaitanya.
Yes, and there was a discussion. Lord Chaitanya said, this is the servant of my guru. He's worshipable to me. How can I accept service from him? And then he put that before Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. What do you think about this? What is your opinion? Sarvabhauma said, these are the orders of the guru. So by following the orders of the guru, there's a lot, what did he say? There's a lot of power in that, I think. Anyone want to research that? Probably not back very far. Who wants to look that up? Matthew's researching it, I could tell. Suprita is too. Who's going to get there first? I'm going to get in on it too. I found it. Text 143. Or let's go to 142. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then continued speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Consider this point. The servant of the spiritual master is always respectable for me. As such, it is not befitting that the Guru's servant should engage in my personal service. Yet my spiritual master has given this order. What shall I do? So it was Lord Chaitanya's Guru also ordering Govinda serve him. So it's also like an order from the Guru to Lord Chaitanya, accept service from him. Sarvabhauma said, the order of the spiritual master is very strong and cannot be disobeyed. That is the injunction of the Shastras, the revealed scriptures. And then, quotes, being ordered by his father, Parshuram killed his mother, Renuka, just as if she were an enemy. Everyone know that story? No. Oh man, it's an awful story. It's awful. I know Anandi's going to like freak out. You guys want to hear it?
No.
Yes. Just
It has a happy end.
Oh, it has a napkin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parshuram, his father was, oh man, whoever he was super powerful yogi, rishi, sage. And Parshuram, he's the one that went out and killed all of the Kshatriyas. And so let's see, his father, why can't I remember his father's name? Anyway, his mother went off to get water from the river, and while she was there, she saw the Gandharvas at the river, and they were enjoying like Gandharvas do. And she looked at the man, the male Gandharva, the head of them all, and just for a brief moment, she thought, that guy's pretty good looking. It was just a brief moment. And she just briefly thought, oh, that looks like fun. I wish I could join them. So when she came home, her husband could tell she had an impure thought. And so he told his oldest son, kill your mother. And the oldest son said, I can't do that. That's my mother. And then he told the next son, you should kill your mother and your older brother. Your older brother has disobeyed me, and your mother is impure. And he said, I can't do that. Parshuram was the next one down. He was the youngest son. And the father said, kill your two brothers and your mother. And Parshuram said, yes, yes, sir. And he killed all of them. And then the father said, I'm very pleased with you for obeying me. I'll grant you a boon. What would you like? And Parshuram said, I would like you to bring my mother and my two brothers back to life with no memory of what just happened. And the father said, okay. And so he brought them all back to life. Parshuram knew what his father could do. Is there a purport to 145?
Very short. It just says the quotation is from Raghuvamsa. Lord Ramachandra's statement to Sita given below is from Ramayana.
Okay, it's from the Ramayana, okay. Welcome to Sita. All right, that's pretty wild stuff.
Is Parashuram's story in Bhagavatam?
Yep, that story is in the Bhagavatam. It's in the 9th canto. If you want to just jump ahead and look that up.
Yeah, I do.
There is some really cool stuff in that 9th canto. There's a lot of stories. And some of them will get you really puzzled. And if it wasn't for Prabhupada's purports, you would just say, I'm out of here. This is crazy. With Parshuram, yeah, anyway, it's a good story. If you read the Parshuram story, I'll let you just read it and find the story. But one nice thing in there, it said that forgiveness is the quality of the Brahmana. And if a Brahmin does not have forgiveness, then just like a clay pot that has a crack in it, will gradually leak out all of its water. So a Brahmin that does not have forgiveness, all of their Brahminical tejas, their powers, all of their Brahminical qualities, they will all leak out. So, gotta have forgiveness. The order of a great personality like a father must be executed without consideration, because there is good fortune in such an order for both of us. In particular, there is good fortune for me. And this is Nirvicharam Gurur Agya. So is that also from the...
I think that's from Ramayana. It's Ramachandra's statement to Sita.
Okay, this is a quotation from the Raghuvamsha. Lord Ramachandra's statement to Sita, given below, is from the Ramayana Ayodhya Kanda. Okay, got it. All right, so all of these people came. Govinda is going to be his servant. Sri Damodar is his secretary. Now he's got this super close friend, Ramananda Roy, the one that he said, I want to spend my whole life with you, talking about Radha and Krishna. I mean, they really get it. Remember when we read that, we we're all kind of puzzled, like, I don't get it. I don't get what. I mean, we sort of follow what's going on, but they're really getting it. Okay, and then Matthew brought up Chota Haridas and Bada Haridas, who were musicians, as well as Ramai and Nandai, and they used to stay with Govinda. So wouldn't that be cool to stay in the servants' quarters for Lord Chaitanya? They all remained with Govinda to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, no one could estimate the good fortune of Govinda. The next day, Mukunda Dutt informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Bharati has come to see you. Mukunda Dutt then asked the Lord, shall I bring him here? After saying this,
There's a split verse there.
Oh, okay. What does it say?
Mukunda Dutt then asked the Lord, shall I bring him here? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Brahmananda Bharati is like my spiritual master. It is better that I go to him.
Yeah. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees came into the presence of Brahmananda Bharati. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees approached him, they saw that he was covered with a deer skin. Seeing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very unhappy. Seeing Brahmananda Bharati wearing the deer skin, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended not to see him. Instead, he asked Mukunda Dutt, where is Brahmananda Bharati, my spiritual master? Go ahead, Matthew.
Mukunda Dutt replied, here is Brahmananda Bharati in your presence. The Lord replied, you are incorrect. This is not Brahmananda Bharati. You must be talking of someone else, for this is surely not Brahmananda Bharati. You simply have no knowledge. Why should Brahmananda Bharati wear a deerskin? When Brahmananda Bharati heard this, he thought, my deerskin is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, admitting his mistake, Brahmananda Bharati thought, he spoke well. I put on this deerskin only for my prestige. I cannot cross over the ocean of nescience simply by wearing a deerskin. From today on, I shall not wear this deerskin. As soon as Brahmananda Bharati decided this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding his mind, immediately sent for the robes of a sannyasi.
Anandi?
As soon as Brahmananda Bharati gave up his deerskin and covered himself with sannyasi robes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and offered his respects to his lotus feet. Brahmananda Bharati said, you struck the general populace by your behavior. I will not do anything against your wishes. Otherwise, you will not offer me respect, but will neglect me. I'm afraid of this. At the present moment, I see two Brahmins. One Brahmin is Lord Jagannath, who does not move, and the other Brahmin who is moving is you. Lord Jagannath is the Acharya Vigraha, the worshipful deity, and it is he who is the non-moving Brahmin. But you are Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you are moving here and there. The two of you are the same Brahman, master of the material nature, but you are playing two parts, one moving and one not moving. In this way, two Brahmins are now residing at Jagannath Puri, Parushottama. Of the two Brahmins, you are fair complexioned, and the other, Lord Jagannath, is blackish. Both of you are delivering the whole world. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, actually, to tell you the truth, due to your presence, there are now two Brahmins at Jagannath Puri.
Suprita?
Both Brahmananda and Gaurahari are moving, whereas the blackish Lord Jagannatha is sitting tight and immobile. Brahmananda Bharati said, my dear Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please become the mediator in this logical argument between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and me. Brahmananda Bharati continued, the living entity is localized, whereas the Supreme Brahman is all-pervading. That is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purified me by taking away my deer skin. This is proof that he is all pervasive and all powerful, and that I am subordinate to him. His bodily hue is golden, and his whole body is like molten gold. Every part of his body is very beautifully constructed and smeared with sandalwood pulp. Accepting the renounced order, the Lord is always equipoised. He is firmly fixed in his mission of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and he is firmly situated in his dualistic conclusion and in his peace.
So at this time, Lord Chaitanya is what, 25 years old? He took sannyas at 24, then walked to Puri, then did the tour, South India. So he's 25 or 26 years old. He's pretty young. And here are all of these older sannyasis, but whatever he says, they do. Like Brahmananda Bharati shows up wearing a deer skin and Lord Chaitanya doesn't like it and he's going to act on that. And then here already twice we've had Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Can you settle this issue? Can you be the mediator? What is your opinion here? So the first time was, should I accept the service from Govinda? And so Sarvabhauma spoke, and that was conclusive. All right. He's also like got a reputation for being the most educated. Okay, text 171. All the symptoms mentioned in the verse from the Vishnu
I have a doubt. In Bhagavad Gita, in 6th chapter, doesn't it say like, if you've renounced everything, go to a secluded forest and sit on deerskin? So how can we connect to that? And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying don't use deerskin.
Oh, yeah. Were there purports back there in the deerskin area, Matthew? We can't hear you.
Okay, I'm checking.
Okay.
Well, what verse are we on right now?
171.
On 71. Okay. So far, I'm not finding any purports at all. There's one on 166, but that's more talking about,
That's another subject.
yeah.
Prabhupada doesn't go into the deerskin thing. Okay. Because he's the eldest one. He would be the one that we go to first to be the mediator on this. And Anandi's a little bit older than me. Maybe she should be the mediator.
Well, doesn't the text say that the reason he was wearing the deerskin was because of pride? And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him not to wear it because he wanted him to be a little humbled. But yes, Suprita is right. You do, I mean, for certain texts, you sit on a deerskin, you know, to attain certain things.
Yeah. And in those verses, in the purports, Prabhupada says that the deerskin has a repellent quality, keeps keep snakes away from you.
Yeah, you can sit on it, but if you wear it as a, you know, he was a little arrogant wearing it. So he was taken down a peg or two by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it's kind of like showing off, like, look how renounced I am.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And if you show up, like, people look at you, if you show up in town wearing a deerskin, people are going to think, wow, this guy is really, this is a real sadhu. And so, yeah, it's, if you are actually a sadhu and you're living out there in the forest, I don't know how they would get a deerskin. How? That's like you're really far from civilization. In civilization, you grow cotton, you spin, you make the cloth. Um, but out there in the forest, there is no cloth. And if you've been out in the forest so long that your cloth is just, there's nothing left. So you take a deer that's died, and I guess you scrape all the guts out. I don't know. That doesn't seem like something a yogi would do. But maybe a hunter, someone that's living out there, would give it in charity to the sadhu. I don't know how they end up with those. But pictures of Parashuram, he dresses in a deer skin. And Parashuram,
I
didn't he
think
come up?
for certain ages, it's relevant. Maybe in Kali Yuga, it's not recommended to use it. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the idea is behind it. Why? I mean, for us, we have so much cloth, but back in those days, a strip of cloth, that was like, it's a lot of work that goes into it. Growing the cotton, picking it, weaving it into the thread, like you always see Gandhi doing. He's got the spinning wheel. You got that thing going, and so that's just to make a bunch of thread. Then you got to put that onto the loom, and you got to run it up and down and up and down. There's what is it? The warp and the
Wolf.
woof. Okay, have you done weaving?
No.
Okay, you got the warp and the woof, and then you got the shuttle thing, and you're sending that back, and you got the machine that goes back and forth. And I've walked in villages in Bengal where people were making stuff like that. They had a factory in mud hut. I mean, the walls were made out of mud. The roof was made out of straw. A lot of rice straw out there in Bengal. And people were in there making cloth. It's a lot of work. And that takes a lot of civilization to pull all of that together. Something we take for granted. We have so much fabric. Everything's industrialized. You can grow cotton in industrial levels. Bale it up with machines, send it to a factory, and it spins it all out, makes lots of thread. Okay, but back then that was a big deal to have a strip of cloth. So it might be easier to go to a hunter that's killing deer anyway and ask him for a deer skin to wear. And it wouldn't be very comfortable unless you put some work into it. A deer skin gets really stiff. It's not going to be comfortable like a leather jacket. Those ones that people used to wear with the little fringe things hanging down. Remember that? Easy Rider movie. No, it's stiff. It's got guts still on it. it's what would you compare it to? Anyway, it's not comfortable, but he was wearing that. And for what purpose? There's plenty of cloth there in Jagannath Puri. So now they're having this discussion about the two Brahmans of Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, you Brahmananda Bharati, you are Brahman. I've been meditating on the impersonal Brahman since my birth. But since I've met you, I've fully experienced Krishna. Brahmananda Bharati continued. Since I have seen you, I have been feeling Lord Krishna's presence in my mind and have been seeing him before my eyes. I now want to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Over and above this, within my heart, I consider you to be Krishna, and I'm therefore very eager to serve you. Bilvamangal Thakur abandoned his impersonal realization for the realization of the personality of Godhead. I now see that my condition is similar to his, for it has already changed. Ramananda Bharati concluded, although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis. That's probably the verse by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Let's see. Was he the one that wrote the Krishna Karnamrita? And that was the book that Lord Chaitanya brought with him.
Yes.
He found that book. Is that verse from Krishna Karnamrita?
It's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Oh. But he mentions Bilva Mangal Thakur in the previous verse.
Right. By the way, that book is not available on Amazon.
Krishna Karnamrita?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to connect you with Mahara. She knows where to get it.
Well, I saw that you could, some sites have like all the verses, but it's not in the form of a book, so you can have it to read it. But it's interesting that it's not available.
This is given in a verse that is quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay. This explanation for this change is given in a verse that is quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita. All right. And then I'm looking at the purport to text 177. And in there, he quotes Prabodhananda Saraswati, who, wasn't he the brother of Venkata Bhatt? I think so. Venkata is the one that Lord Chaitanya stayed at his house at Sri Rangam for the 4 months of the rainy season. Now, this verse gets quoted frequently. Kaivalyam narakayati kridaspur akash pushpayati durdantendriya kala sarpapatali protkata damstrayati vishvam purna sukhayati. Anyway, he sees Kaivalya, that kind of liberation, as hellish. Since he's gotten the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he says, I've gotten such a high taste from that getting liberation feels like that would be awful. Tridaspur akash pushpayate. All of the pleasures of heaven are like just clouds or flowers in the sky. That's what it is. Akash pushpa, flowers in the sky. He said, my senses are automatically controlled. The senses are just like venomous serpents, but now my senses are like venomous serpents with their teeth broken. They have no power over me. Vishvam Purna Sukhayate. The whole universe seems like a happy place. Yat Karunya. So by the mercy. Tam Gauram Evastumaha. To Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Because of my connection with Lord, or getting the mercy. All this is possible when one receives Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's merciful glance. Okay, why did we go off onto that? We were looking at, this is a verse written by Bilva Mangal Thakur. It is quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis. And Lord Chaitanya replied, you have a deep ecstatic love for Krishna. Therefore, wherever you turn your eyes, you simply heighten your Krishna consciousness. Oh, Lord Chaitanya is going to try that one again. That's what he said to Ramananda Roy, remember? The verse with the sporty in it. Wherever he looks.
178 mean? Like, I've been turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy.
Oh, what does that mean? You don't get it? I think Anandi gets it. We'll turn to her to settle this dispute. Read the verse, Suprita.
Although I was worshipped, Brahmananda Bharati concluded, although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maid servant by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis.
Okay. Anandi, what does that mean?
That he was, on the path that I admire. And
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry to put you on the
and he says, I mean, he obviously was turned around by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, meaning Krishna, the cunning boy who's worshipped, always joking with the gopis.
Yeah.
I'd like to get the taste of that someday.
Yeah, actually the verse was composed by Bilva Mangal Thakur, who came before Sri Chaitanya. And that was just his mood that, like, I'm going with Krishna. Forget all this other stuff. I was a respectable person on the path of monism,
Mm-hmm.
and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system. But I met this cunning boy who was always joking with the gopis. And that boy turned me into a maidservant, a dasi krita, made into a maidservant, hatena, by force, shatena, by a cheater. By a cheater, I have been forcibly turned into a maidservant.
Very moving imagery,
Yeah. So he wrote that book that Lord Chaitanya really appreciated, the Krishna Caritamrta. And yeah, he really felt that. He felt Krishna doing that to him. And that's the kind of stuff that Lord Chaitanya is really into, finding people who are forcibly being pushed along by Krishna. How do we get that? When's that going to happen? Right now, we're kind of
This
pushing
is,
toward it.
this is being explained by Brahmananda Bharati, but was written by Bilva Mangala Thakur, right?
Yep. He's quoting that verse. I wonder if it's from the Krishna Caritamrta.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
It's in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Yeah, maybe it's not in Krishna Caritamrta. I don't know. Mahar is on another call right now. Otherwise, I'd bring her in because she read Krishna Caritamrta. She would know. All right. So then in text 179, Lord Chaitanya said, you have a deep ecstatic love for Krishna. Therefore, wherever you look, you simply heighten your Krishna consciousness. Wherever you turn your eyes. Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya said, the statements of both of you are correct. Krishna gives direct audience through his mercy. Go ahead, Matthew. We're going to settle this up.
Without having ecstatic love for Krishna, one cannot see him directly. Therefore, through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has acquired direct vision of the Lord.
We should read this purport.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, You are Brahmananda Bharati, an advanced devotee who ecstatically loves the Lord. Therefore, you see Krishna everywhere, and there is no doubt about it.
Anandi, are you in?
Oh, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a mediator between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Brahmananda Bharati, and his judgment was that an advanced devotee like Brahmananda Bharati was seeing Krishna by Krishna's mercy.
That's one sentence.
Oh, sorry, I can't see. Krishna directly presents himself before the vision of an advanced devotee. That's the second sentence.
Ramananda Bharati was an advanced devotee. He saw Krishna in the person of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the words of the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyama Sundaram, situated within the heart of the devotee.
Okay, the pulp of love. Eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. Anjana, is that word still used in Hindi, or
No,
you ever heard that? Okay.
it's a name in India. That's all.
Anjana?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, from this verse and from Prabhupada speaking on it, Anjana means some kind of ointment that you put on your eyes to help with your vision. And so you put Prema Anjana. That's what this verse is talking about. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. So with their eyes, their bhakti eyes, Lochan. Lochan means eyes. Isn't that right? Bhakti Vilochanena. Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So the santas, the devotees, Sadaiva, always within their heart, Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. They see Shyama Sundaram, who is Achintya, who is inconceivable, who has inconceivable gunas, qualities, Swarupam, Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So out of love, we see that the devotee sees Krishna. That's what's being said here. Okay, let's move on. Go ahead, next verse.
Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what are you saying? Lord Vishnu saved me. Such glorification is simply another form of blasphemy.
And go ahead, read that purport, Matthew.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a little embarrassed by the Bhattacharya's statement. Therefore, he uttered the name Vishnu to save himself. The Lord herein confirms that if one is overestimated, glorification is just another form of blasphemy. In this way, he protests this so-called offensive statement. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Brahmananda Bharati with him to his residence. From that time on, Brahmananda Bharati remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later, Ramabhadra Acharya and Bhagavan Acharya joined them and, giving up all other responsibilities, remained under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. The next day, Kashishwar Goswami also came and remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who received him with great respect.
Okay, all kinds of people showing up. We're setting the stage. A lot of names to remember. Go ahead, Anandi.
Kashivara used to usher Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Jagannath temple. He would precede the Lord into the crowd and keep people from touching him. As all the rivers flow into the sea, all the devotees throughout the country finally came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. Since all the devotees came to him for shelter, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed them all the mercy and kept them under his protection. Thus I have described the meeting of all the Vaishnavas with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whoever hears this description ultimately attains shelter at his lotus feet. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadasa, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps.
Okay, chapter 11. Okay, we already kind of recapped that a couple of times. A lot of devotees came in. There were a lot of new names, or a few new names. Brahmananda Bharati, Kashishvar. Kashishvar would stand before the Lord when he walked through a crowd and just push people out of the way. I'm sure he would do it nicely. But there's going to be a story coming up about that. All right, go ahead, Suprita.
Chapter 11. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merged the entire world into the ocean of ecstatic love by performing his beautiful dances within the temple of Jagannatha. He danced exquisitely and jumped high. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Sri Advaita Prabhu, and all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The next day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya requested Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give him permission to submit a statement without fear. Lord gave the Bhattacharya assurance that he could speak without fear, but added that if his statement were suitable, he would accept it, and if it were not, he would reject it. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, "There is a king named Prataparudra Raya. He is very anxious to meet you, and he wants your permission."
As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this proposal, he immediately covered his ears with his hands and said, "My dear Sarvabhauma, why are you requesting such an undesirable thing from me? Since I am in the renounced order, it is dangerous for me to meet a king. It is as dangerous for me to meet a king as to meet a woman. To meet either would be just like drinking poison." Greatly lamenting, the Lord then informed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, "Alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material desire, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification, or seeing a woman who is similarly interested, is more abominable than drinking poison willingly." We all memorized this when we were brahmacharis. And where is it from? From the Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka. Yeah. Iskinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanon Mukhasya Param Jigamasho Bhavasagarasya Mandarshanam Vishainam Atayoshitam Cha Ha Hanta Hanta Vishabhakshanatopya Sadhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, "My dear Lord, what you have said is correct, but this king is not an ordinary king. He is a great devotee and servant of Lord Jagannath." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Although it is correct that the king is a great devotee, he is still to be considered a venomous snake. Similarly, even though a woman may be made of wood, one becomes agitated simply by touching her form."
Just as one is immediately frightened upon seeing a live serpent or even the form of a serpent, one endeavoring for self-realization should similarly fear a materialistic person and a woman. Indeed, he should not even glance at their bodily features. Bhattacharya, if you continue to speak like this, you will never see me here again. Therefore, you should never let such a request come from your mouth. Being afraid, Sarvabhauma returned home and began to meditate on the matter. At this time, Maharaj Prataparudra arrived at Jagannath Puri. Purushottama, and accompanied by his secretaries, ministers, and military officers, went to visit the temple of Lord Jagannath. When King Prataparudra returned to Jagannath Puri, Ramananda Rai came with him. Ramananda Rai immediately went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great pleasure.
Anandi.
Oh, sorry. Upon meeting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Roy offered his obeisance. The Lord embraced him, and both of them began to cry in the great ecstasy of love. Seeing Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intimate dealing with Sri Ramananda Roy, all the devotees were astonished. Ramananda Roy said, I duly informed King Prataparudra of your order for me to retire from service. By your grace, the king was pleased to relieve me of all these material activities. I said, Your Majesty, I am now not willing to engage in political activities. I desire only to stay at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kindly grant me permission. When I submitted this proposal, the king immediately became very pleased upon hearing your name. Indeed, he instantly rose from his throne and embraced me.
My dear Lord, as soon as the king heard your holy name, he was immediately overwhelmed by great ecstatic love. Catching my hand, he displayed all the symptoms of love. As soon as he heard my petition, he immediately granted me a pension without reduction. Thus the king granted me a full salary as a pension and requested me to engage without anxiety in the service of your lotus feet. Then Maharaj Prataparudra very humbly said, I am most fallen and abominable, and I am unfit to receive an interview with the Lord. One's life is successful if he engages in his service. The king then said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, the son of Maharaja Nanda. He is very merciful, and I hope that in a future birth he will allow me an interview. My lord, I don't think that there is even a fraction of Maharaj Prataparudra's loving ecstasy in me.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, My dear Ramananda Roy, you are the foremost of all the devotees of Krishna. Therefore, whoever loves you is certainly a very fortunate person. Because the king has shown so much love for you, Lord Krishna will certainly accept him. Lord Krishna told Arjuna, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are the devotees of my servant are factually my devotees. My devotees take great care and respect in rendering me service. They offer obeisances to me with all their bodily limbs. They worship other devotees and find all living entities related to me. For me, they engage the entire energy of their bodies. They engage the power of speech in the glorification of my qualities and forms. They also dedicate their mind unto me and try to give up all kinds of material desires. Thus, my devotees are characterized, and that is from 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, speaking to Uddhava. Okay, go ahead, Matthew.
Lord Shiva told the goddess Durga, My dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost. However, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is the rendering of service to Vaishnavas, who are related to Lord Vishnu. Those whose austerity is meager can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotees progressing on the path back to the kingdom of Godhead, the Vaikunthas. Pure devotees engage 100% in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of the demigods and the controller of all living entities. Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Gosani, Swarup Damodar Gosani, Lord Nityananda, Jagadananda, Mukunda, and others were present before the Lord at that time. Sri Ramananda Rai therefore offered his obeisances to all the Lord's devotees, in particular to the 4 spiritual masters. Thus Ramananda Rai suitably met all the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next asked Ramananda Rai, "Have you already visited the temple of the lotus-eyed Lord Jagannath?" Ramananda Rai replied, "I shall now go visit the temple."
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "What have you done, my dear Raya? Why did you not first see Lord Jagannath and then come here? Why have you come here first?" Ramananda Roy said, "The legs are like the chariot, and the heart is like the charioteer. Whenever the heart takes the living entity is obliged to go." Sri Ramananda Roy continued, "What shall I do? My mind has brought me here. I could not consider going first to Lord Jagannath's temple." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, "Immediately go to Lord Jagannath's temple to see the Lord, then go home and meet your family members." Having received Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's permission, Ramananda Roy hastily went to the temple of Lord Jagannath. Who can understand the devotional service of Raya Ramananda?
When King Prataparudra returned to Jagannath Puri, he called for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When the Bhattacharya went to see the king offered him respects and made the following inquiries. The king asked, "Have you submitted my petition to the Lord?" "Yet, despite my great endeavor."
Uh-oh, probably missing something in text 42.
The king asked, "Have you submitted my petition to the Lord?" Sarvabhauma replied, "Yes, with much endeavor I have tried my best." Yet despite my great endeavor, the Lord would not agree to see a king. Indeed, he said that if he were asked again, he would quit Jagannath Puri and go elsewhere. Hearing this, the king became very unhappy and greatly lamenting began to speak as follows. The king said, "Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has descended just to deliver all kinds of sinful, low-born persons. Consequently, he has delivered sinners like Jagai and Madhai."
Alas, has Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incarnated to deliver all kinds of sinners, with the exception of a king named Maharaj Prataparudra? Alas, has Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his advent, deciding that he will deliver all others with the exception of me? He bestows his merciful glance upon many lower class men, who are usually not even to be seen. Maharaj Prataparudra continued, "If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is determined not to see me, then I am determined to give up my life if I do not see him. If I do not receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, my body and my kingdom are certainly useless." Hearing King Prataparudra's determination, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became thoughtful. Indeed, he was very much astonished to see the king's determination.
Finally, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, "My dear king, do not worry. Because of your firm determination, I am sure that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy will definitely be bestowed upon you." As soon as the Bhattacharya saw the king's firm determination, he declared, "The Supreme Lord is approached only by pure love. Your love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very deep. Therefore, without a doubt, he will be merciful upon you. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then suggested, there is one means by which you can directly see him. On the day of the Car festival, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will dance before the deity in great ecstatic love. On that Ratha Yatra festival day, after dancing before the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will enter the Gundicha garden. At that time, you should go there alone without your royal dress.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enters the Goticha garden, you should also go there and read the 5 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam about Lord Sri Krishna's dancing with the gopis. In this way, you can catch hold of the Lord's lotus feet. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be in a mood of ecstatic love without external consciousness. At that time, as you recite these chapters from Srimad Bhagavatam, he will embrace you, knowing you to be a pure Vaishnava. The Lord has already changed his mind due to Ramananda Roy's description of your pure love for him. Maharaja Prataparudra took Bhattacharya's advice and firmly decided to follow his instructions. Thus he felt transcendental happiness. When the king asked the Bhattacharya when the bathing ceremony, Snana Yatra of Lord Jagannath, would take place, the Bhattacharya replied that there were only 3 days left before the ceremony.
After thus encouraging the king, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya returned home. On the day of Lord Jagannath's bathing ceremony, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy at heart. Upon seeing the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. But when Lord Jagannath retired after the ceremony, Lord Chaitanya became very unhappy because he could not see him. Due to separation from Lord Jagannatha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt the same great anxiety the gopis feel in separation from Krishna. In this condition, he gave up all association and went to Alanatha. The devotees who had followed the Lord came into his presence and requested him to return to Puri. They submitted that the devotees from Bengal were coming to Purushottama Kshetra. In this way, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya brought Lord Chaitanya back to Jagannath Puri. He then went to King Prataparudra and informed him of the Lord's arrival.
Okay, does everybody know about this, the bathing ceremony of Jagannath?
Yes.
Anyone not know? Matthew doesn't know.
No, I don't know.
Oh, Suprita doesn't know. Okay, Anandi says she knows. You want to explain what's going on?
Well, they before the Ratha Yatra, they is it 10 days before? They just did it actually. They bathed Lord Jagannath and Subhadra and Balaram, and then they become sick. And so they're taken special care of by certain class of priests until they get better, and then they're ready for Yatra Yatra.
I saw pictures of that. What do you mean sick? Like, what happens?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. I want to hear what you're going to say.
Well, I just sort of learned about this. They get sick, meaning that they have to have special food and they have to be kept in isolation, given special medicinal preparations, and then they get better.
Yeah, they're kept in isolation. So you go to the altar and Jagannath's gone. And the deity of Jagannath is really big at Puri. It's very heavy and hard to move. So they move him, they take him off the altar. And so it's a big shock to go there and like, whoa, where's Jagannath? And so at all of our ISKCON temples, we do that also every year. And so for a week or so, I think we do it in for a week just to be convenient, a week or maybe 2 weeks, so everybody can come on Sunday or whatever day it is for the bathing. Then, oh man, somebody left a window open. Jagannath got a cold. And now the first year that I saw Rath Yatra, it was at the Berkeley Temple, and it was, let's see, 1977. Prabhupada was still in the world. Or let's see, no, the first one I saw was in 76. And there was a big gathering because ours was the biggest one in the world, the San Francisco one. But that year, Prabhupada didn't come. So I missed seeing Prabhupada at the Rath Yatra. But because it was such a big thing, all the devotees came. There's a great big crowd. And this one devotee was given the class, Rameshwar, who was like one of those super intense speakers. And he said, you have to understand, Lord Jagannath is actually sick, and we have to pray for him. He was like really dramatic. We have to pray for him that he'll get better, because if he doesn't, this Rath Yatra will not happen. And you'll see things will happen. The paint won't dry on the cart. We won't get the permits. Something will break. We won't be able to do this. You have to pray. So he was like whipping us all up into like this frenzy. I hope Jagannath gets better.
Repaint it? Repaint the details?
That's something that happens every few years. There's a Nava Yovanam ceremony. Well, in Puri, though the deities are just taken away and fresh new deities are made out of. There's a whole ceremony. They go out into the woods. These special Brahmins go and they identify the tree, and then as they cut the tree, they see the markings of the conch shell, the chakra. What are the four things that Lord Vishnu carries in his hand? Shankha, chakra. Shankha is a conch shell. Chakra.
Gada and chakra.
On the
Disc and
Sudarshan.
Shankha, chakra, gada, padma.
Mm.
So they see those markings on the tree, and then they'll cut that tree and carve the Jagannath deity. So the Jagannath deity that we have in Berkeley, that was carved by Shyamasundar back in 1967, under Prabhupada's supervision. Those were Shyamasundars' wife, Malati, found the little statues at the import store, a little statue of Jagannath, and she brought that to Prabhupada, who says that he paid his obeisances. I don't know if he went like this or actually bowed his head to the floor, but they were all surprised. And he said, you have found Jagannath, you have found Krishna. Are there any more statues like this? And they said, yeah, go and bring them here. So she brought Balaram and Subhadra, and Prabhupada asked, can any of you carve? And Shyamasundar said, well, I could do that. I could carve those. And so he made those. Those are the same deities that are in the Berkeley Temple now since 1967. And those were the ones that they took out on the first Rath Yatra. So anyway, back in 1976, my first Rath Yatra, we were all praying like crazy that Jagannath would get well. And it just looked so weird to not see him on the altar, to see that empty space. And when these books came out, we read about them, we really identified with that. And Lord Chaitanya went to the Alalanath temple, and we visited that temple. And there on the stone floor is supposedly a place where Lord Chaitanya came, and he was missing Jagannath so badly. he goes to that Alalanath temple, and then there's a deity of Vishnu there, I think. And he pays his dandavats, lays all the way down on the floor, and on that floor there is a spot that looks like a body melted the stone, and so they say that was caused by Lord Chaitanya, melted into the stone. And remember when he left on his South Indian tour, he also visited that temple. He also visited the temple or the little village of Alalanath. And while he was dancing there and chanting, all of the villagers came to watch him, and that's where Nityananda predicted this dancing is going to go on all over the world. And so we went there, and we had a big kirtan at that temple, and all the villagers came out to watch us, and we thought about that prediction of Lord Nityananda, that this dancing will go on all over the world. Okay, so whoa, it's 8:25. How did that happen? It's been doing that every night, doing that a lot lately, and usually right about this time of day. So Lord Chaitanya went to Alalanath, and Sarvabhauma brought him back and went there and said, devotees are coming from Bengal. Remember those devotees back in Bengal? Okay, Anandi has lost audio. Oh no. All right, so we'll start at text 60 tomorrow. Okay,
Hey.
everybody.
Haribol.